Titans fans, it is a live event, another one going live here before day 3 of the NFL draft. The Tennessee Titans have 5 more draft picks. They also have some needs that they still need to fill. I'm going to go over what picks they have remaining. Not only that, I'm going to go position by position and take a look at some guys who still make a ton of sense for the Tennessee Titans on day 3. So we're going to dive into all the remaining picks and all the prospects that make sense for the Titans on this day 3 pre-draft live event on the Locked On Titans podcast. Let's get it.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Titans fans, it is a day 3 of the 2022 NFL Draft live Locked On Titans. I'm getting you guys ready to go for day 3 of the draft. It's going to kick off here in about 10, 11 minutes. The Titans have gone through 2 rounds of the draft. They have 4 players on their team, but they also have 5 remaining draft picks. So what picks do the Titans have? What prospects are still on the board that make sense, that line up with what they need? I'm going to go over all of that with you guys on today's show. Before we get into it, just want to thank you guys for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen every day. If this is your first ever listen to the Locked On Titans podcast, make sure you subscribe on whatever platform you do stream. You are going to find the Locked On Titans podcast everywhere and always free. That includes the Locked On Titans YouTube channel. Subscribe there to see the show on video Monday through Friday. Hit the notification bell right now so you know when all the content goes live. Not only that, but please throw a thumbs up on the video if you're watching on YouTube right now. I really do appreciate it. But with all that being said, time to dive into what positions the Titans still need here on day 3. So for me, I would like to see the Titans add another running back. I would like to see the Titans add another wide receiver. I would also like to see the Titans add another tight end. Now, I wouldn't be completely opposed to the Titans adding another guy on the interior of the offensive line. But if I'm going to be honest with you, I think with the versatility that Petit-Frere offers, with the pick of Dylan Radins last year, with the addition of Jamarco Jones, with bringing Ben Jones back, I just simply don't believe that the Titans would have enough of a need to go offensive line again. I just don't see it. With Jamarco Jones, Dylan Radins, Aaron Brewer, Petit-Frere, they can get another veteran if they want to add somebody to the offensive line after Monday at 4 p.m. Compensatory pick formula is not affected by the guys you sign. So I think the Titans would add another veteran on the offensive line, but I'm not seeing it. But again, running back, wide receiver, tight end, I all think that they absolutely need to be targets for the Titans on day 3. We'll get into some of the prospects here in just a moment. On the defensive side of the ball, I still want to see the Titans get an edge rusher. I think it's really important to have another guy in the rotation. I think they're going to have some options there. I think edge rusher would be important. A big need for the Titans, I think they need to attack at some point. They have to leave the draft with someone, is a safety. The Titans really need a safety here. Amani Hooker could leave in free agency after the year. So that's absolutely a possibility. And Dan Cruikshank left. So although the Roger McCreary pick may slot Elijah Molden into the Dan Cruikshank role, I still think a third safety that can actually contribute on defense is super important. We're not talking about just a guy who can play special teams like AJ Moore. I think the Titans need a safety who they want on actual defense to be added to the team. So I think that is super important for the Titans. So recap, running back, wide receiver, tight end, edge rusher, safety. I would be okay with an off-ball linebacker as well. Not that I think the Titans need an off-ball linebacker to come in and play defense. No, not completely. Not in that. Let's talk about role here. So the Titans have David Long, who is going to not only be able to play every down, but he's going to be able to give you some ability in pass coverage as well. Along with that, they have Zach Cunningham, who is more the sideline to sideline linebacker. Think about it this way. David Long is almost Zach Cunningham's lead fullback. David Long is going to come up in the hole, use that athleticism, use that acceleration, use that physicality, and smack a fullback or smack a lineman trying to come through the hole. Then Zach Cunningham is going to have the range to clean it up. They could do it the other way too. That's why people saying that the Titans were going to take a linebacker in the first round. Titans haven't taken a linebacker in the first 2 days. Duh, because Zach Cunningham and David Long are beasts. Yeah, they're not all pros right now, but they're good players. And at a position that doesn't have a ton of value, they're awesome players. And then Monty Rice, the second-year player out of Georgia, he's your backup run stopper. If you need a guy to rotate in on early downs, you need a guy to come in if one of those guys is injured and play on early downs, you got Monty Rice for that. So those are filled. But the Titans don't have a Jayon Brown replacement right now. A guy who, David Long is going to be the primary pass coverage linebacker. But they need a guy who, what if David Long is hurt, which he was hurt for a good chunk of the season last year? If David Long does get hurt, they need a linebacker that come out there and play sub-package linebacker in passing situations with Elijah Molden. So you have Elijah Molden playing the Dane Cruikshank role as one of the linebackers in dime. And then you would have one true linebacker, which I would imagine would be David Long. If David Long is hurt, you need a guy who can fill that role at least on third downs, even if you don't have to play him on first and second down. So I think the Titans could still use an off-ball linebacker as well that is more of a pass coverage-centric guy. That's kind of my want for the Titans in that role on defense. So 5 picks, 131, 143, 163, 204, and 219. Plenty of roster needs and holes that could still be filled. Excited to continue breaking down the prospects that still make sense for the Titans going into day 3. Before we get into that, though, I just want to thank you guys again for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, free daily Tennessee Titans content here on the Locked On Titans podcast. I'm going to have a complete draft recap going up on Sunday night on YouTube. I'm going to have my day 3 recap going up tonight on the YouTube channel as well. I go live. I have pre-recorded stuff. I'm going to have Monday through Friday content all year long. This isn't just draft season or during the regular season. No, all year long. So we're going to get into the prospects that make sense for the Titans on day 3 now. And just a quick break for me to take a little bit of a drink before we do. Ladies and gentlemen, this is like the earliest I've ever done a show or gone live before pre-noon. Drink your water. This is my advertisement to you. Drink some water, folks. I'm going to take another drink just to promote healthy habits. I'm a water guy 24/7. I don't drink coffee. I don't drink Gatorade. I don't drink pop. I wish I could, but I don't. Okay, that's not fair. I do have a couple cocktails. I like my bourbon. I like my gin. All right, like any self-respecting man should. Okay, but I'm pretty much water 24/7. All right, water is important. Drink water, but you didn't come here for water. You came here for prospects. Let's start at running back. I still think the Titans need somebody who can spell Derrick Henry. Yes, they have Dontrell Hilliard. Yes, they have Trent Cannon, who can be third down scat backs. Sure. But somebody needs to take 5 to 8 carries off of Derrick Henry's plate in between the tackles every single week. The Titans can simply not give Derrick Henry 30 carries a game for the first half of the season like they did in 2021. Make no mistake about it, a Jones fracture, which is what Derrick Henry had, a Jones fracture is a load-bearing injury. Okay? He broke down. All right? He had too much pressure on his feet too consistently. The Titans got to get him somebody to spell some carries. A guy who can give you versatility in both ways is an Isaiah Spiller from Texas A&M. He's an advanced route runner for a running back. Wheels, curls. He can split out a little bit. I wouldn't have him do that. Angle routes, Texas routes, whatever you want to call them there. Texas A&M's Isaiah Spiller makes a ton of sense for the Titans. Ty Chandler out of North Carolina, another guy who makes some sense. Tyler Goodson out of Iowa, more of the pass receiving back than an in-between the tackles guy, but at Iowa, they ran gap runs, they ran zone runs, they ran power runs, and the Titans have diversified their running attack in 2022 when Todd Downing took over, for better or for worse. So Goodson has the ability to run different schematic run plans, and a guy who I really like, I saved him for the end. I've been saying it all along. Tyler Algier out of BYU. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He'll run the ball in between the tackles. He's been comped to a guy like James Conner from the Cardinals. I love Tyler Algier. I think the Titans would be smart to scoop him up. At wide receiver, though, this is the position you all wanted to hear about. I think the Titans do need another wide receiver. They still have not upgraded the Chester Rogers role. I was excited for Treylon Burks to be in the Chester Rogers role if the Titans kept A.J. Brown, but now Burks has to go into the A.J. Brown role. So that means that Chester Rogers slot third down wide receiver is still open and available and missing for the Titans, quite frankly. I'm not talking about Nick Westbrook-Akina. He's not an answer here. That's not the answer that we're looking for, okay? So for me, they still need that slot, small, quick guy, and they got good value on it. Calvin Austin out of Memphis, my number one option. I would love to get Calvin Austin. Khalil Shakir out of Boise State would be another good one. Bo Melton. And then the guy that I like a ton is Romeo Dubes. Dubes can run screens. He can run sweeps. He can run bubbles. He can go deep. He's 6'2", though. So who are you seeing as our wide receiver one? Woods, I'm assuming. Yeah, I mean, it has to be. Robert Woods is the only guy who's going to have an advanced enough route tree and have a good enough understanding of defenses to where he would have the ability to be the top wide receiver. And that X wide receiver is what we're talking about, guys. Everybody can talk wide receiver one, wide receiver two. Those are just casual conversations. In terms of what you're really asking when you ask about wide receiver one as a fan, is you're asking about production. Who's going to be the most productive? The NFL does not say wide receiver one. They say X. They say F. They say Z. You see what I'm saying? Like tight end. They use Y tight end. They use H-back. The F tight end. Those are the terms that are used. So whenever we have this conversation about wide receiver one, do you mean X? Do you mean the responsibilities that the X wide receiver in the offense has? Or do you mean the guy who's going to have the most yards and the most catches? See what I'm saying? There's a schematic conversation to be had that's way different than wide receiver one. So just keep that in mind. I understand what the question is, but NFL teams don't think like that. They think about how they fit in their offense and how important each position is in terms of the terms, I guess. Yeah. Anyways, moving forward, tight end. Isaiah Likely, he is a pass tight end. He is a guy who can fill that Ferkser role for the Titans with good mobility, good athleticism, and decent route running. Daniel Bellinger could make a lot of sense for the Titans as well. He's more of a Jeff Swain, more of a Austin Hooper type guy. Same thing with Cade Otton. I like Cade Otton a lot out of Nevada. If the Titans came in with two guys from Nevada, Cade Otton and Romeo Dubes, I would be hyped. I would get on here and be hyped, man. I love both those guys. The X wide receiver, honestly, Brad, I think it's going to be Treylon because I see Robert Woods as more of an F. I see him as more of the secondary wide receiver who's off the line of scrimmage, but I don't know if Burks is ready. So if he's not, I think Woods could play some X wide receiver. But anyways, I like Likely. I like Bellinger. I like Otton, but the guy for me it is Chiga Okonkwo from Maryland at tight end. He's Jonnu Smith 2.0. Also, Cole Turner could make some sense for the Titans at 204 or 219 as a guy who could replace an Anthony Ferkser role as well. On defense, at edge rusher, Michael Clemens from Texas A&M, Tyreek Smith from Ohio State, but Amari Barno. It's Amari Barno, man. He's my guy. He's absolutely my guy. So, I hope that they can find a way to get Amari Barno out of Virginia Tech. Burst, length, he's young. I mean, he's a guy I like at interior linebacker. JoJo Doman as a pass coverage linebacker. Brandon Smith from Penn State as a third down linebacker. And Balin Spector from Baylor. But I think all those guys could make a ton of sense as off-ball, pass coverage-centric linebackers late in the draft. Water break. Mm-mm-mm. Drink your water, guys. Very important. At safety, which I think is super important. Safety is super important. Dane Belton from Iowa. I think he could do some Dane Crookshank things. Marquise Bell out of Florida A&M. I think he's got great potential. Smoke Monday. Going to be able to play on special teams. Physical guy. Someone has the hiccups. It's not the hiccups. I don't know. Just like continuously talking, I don't get to take like deep enough breaths, I guess. And I kind of, just lose my breath a little bit. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to be drinking water. I'm a big water guy. I'm going to continue to promote water at all turns. But Smoke Monday could play special teams. Physical guy. Could maybe do some Dan Crookshank stuff, manning up on tight ends in the slot. Wanye Thomas, same thing. Bubba Bolden could be a potential guy as well, so that makes sense. There are a lot of guys at safety that I think could go at 204 and 219. They could come in, maybe eventually fill the Dane Crookshank role, but also immediately play special teams. Neil Reynolds said, we want Smoke. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Smoke Monday is probably the coolest name in the entire draft. He's going to be good. He's going to be decent. Okay, I just believe that. Names are just crazy like that. Okay, there's no way around it. The last thing that I want to mention, I talked Isaiah Spiller, Ty Chandler, Tyler Goodson, Tyler Algier at running back, Calvin Austin, Khalil Shakir, Bo Melton at wide receiver, Isaiah Likely, Daniel Bellinger, Cade Otton, Chigakonkwo, Cole Turner at tight end, Michael Clemens, Tyreek Smith, Amari Bono, Jeffrey Gunter at edge rusher, JoJo Doman, Brandon Smith, Balin Spector at off-ball linebacker, Dane Belton, Marquise Bell, Smoke Monday, Wanye Thomas, Bubba Bolden at safety, and then Cade York potentially at kicker. Could make a lot of sense for the Titans as well. But what I want to do is for this final, the draft is kicking off right now. For this final about 5 to 7 minutes, I just want to take your guys' questions. I'm just going to respond to what you guys are saying in the chat. I got so much to say about the picks and what the Titans' philosophy is that I haven't really had a chance to do a ton of that. So I'm just going to do that for the final 7 or so minutes. Guys, please subscribe to the Locked On Titans podcast right now. If this is your first experience with the show, daily Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content, always going to be free all year long as well. My name is Tyler Rowland, host of the show. Been a Tennessee Titans fanatic for nearly 25 years, breaking down the X's and O's all the time. I'm giving you guys all kinds of scheme information, talking about technique and all that. So make sure, all you bums sub. Yes, all you bums sub. Podcast or die. I feel you on that. Appreciate that, Brad Hester. But yeah, you guys make sure you subscribe to the show. I'm going to take a little bit of a water break, and then we are going to come back and I'm going to answer your guys' questions. All right, Titans fans, let's cap off this day three pre-draft show for the 2022 NFL Draft. I can't believe the final day is actually here. Guys, I got to tell you, after the draft is over, I'm going to sleep, and I'm not going to wake back up until like tomorrow afternoon, okay? We've been grinding, all right? Copyright strike. Moving forward. All right, let's do some chat conversations here. Starting Neil Reynolds. Oh, where'd you go? You guys are putting them in quick. Neil, any thoughts on Cade Mays? I can see getting another versatile depth offensive lineman piece. Cade Mays is fine, but to be honest with you guys, again, I just don't think that the Titans need more offensive line. If they do, it needs to be a veteran. Forgot the let's get it. Nah, I did the let's get it at the beginning. This is live, so you probably weren't on yet, but I was there. I was there. If I did forget it, then holy crap, what am I doing? Your audio is a bit off. It's crazy, David. What's been happening is after I get to about the 18 to 20 minute mark, the mic starts messing up. So my apologies there on that. Let's see if I can go in my settings here. All right. Okay, it's back. Okay, the audio's good now. All right, awesome. Thank you guys so much. Sorry about that. It's been doing that when I've been going live. I haven't gone live a ton until this weekend, and I noticed that the last 5 minutes to 6 minutes of the show, the audio has been messed up. So my apologies for that. I've never had that issue before, quite honestly. But thank you guys all so much. Pierre Strong Jr. is a backup running back. Yes, I like Pierre Strong Jr. I think he could be a really good fit as well. You sounded like you were at the bottom of the lake for a few minutes. Brad, yes, I know. I don't know why it does that. Jerry Adams, could the Titans trade for a veteran wide receiver after June 1st, like a Tyler Lockett or Adam Thielen? Both are about 10 to 11 million in cap hit. Yeah, I wouldn't rule that out, guys. The roster building process continues. The Titans could still add some veterans, not only in free agency, but also through trade. I wouldn't give up too much for any of that, but yeah, I think that's definitely possible. Sin City said, would you consider us in a rebuild? These aren't win now moves. Do you think the staff can develop Malik? Two questions there. No, the Titans aren't in a rebuild. It's a retooling. That's what I would call it. The Titans retooled the defense last year, and the defense got a lot better. Now the Titans are retooling the offense with an eye towards 2023. So no, this is not a rebuild. It's retooling. Good organization don't have to rebuild. Bad organization you get absolutely garbage and then have to hire a new GM and a new coach to fix things. That is a rebuild. And can the staff develop the league? Let me say this. John Watson was developed by one, Pat O'Hara, quarterback coach of Mike Brown, and two, Tim Kelly, who's the offensive coordinator for Texas now, senior offensive assistant for the Titans. So the two guys responsible for developing John Watson now get to develop the league. So enjoy that. What up, Kevin? What up? Jared, so I guess most of the stuff that you find out is really good. Elijah Holden plays slot quarterback on first and second down, where he can play as an outside linebacker. He can blitz on the slot. He's physical. He can come up and try to play more zone coverage on third down. They play more man on third down. So Elijah Holden's role is going to be attack, and now it's going to be on the field on third down. He's going to be the main guy who covers tight end. Really good come on third down. To be the pass coverage quarterback. Or Caleb Farley just doesn't pan out to really play on the outside. Brad, honestly, as sad as I am to lose AJ, the potential of having that 25 plus Julio's coming back, plus the coming back, and Ellis coming back, maybe Taylor Lewan coming back, and Jalen Braden slides to left tackle, and Petit-Frere plays right tackle. I could have a ton of cap space next year. Keep them on the open. Tim Davis, Zach Cunningham, and also had a ton of talent. Harley Kohler or Isaiah Likely, yes. What those guys did, I think the Titans did something a little bit different than Jeff Lane and Austin Cooper did. Both those guys can do that. Mike's going crazy with your audio stuff, audio that. Okay. Guys, I've run the live stream too long. Anyways, thank you all for tuning in. Sorry about the audio mess up. I think it's been going live. Struggled with it. But thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm going to give an instant reaction to all the Texas Titans next year in the day two, in the fourth round, fifth round, sixth round, seventh round. It's going to recap everything later on tonight with a full draft recap. There's a sixth round and a no color day. I don't think